everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name's Molly, and today I'm going to be doing a brief little tattoo tour, talking about my various tattoos. So this is a bit of a different type of video for my channel. If you've been here before, you know that I've been primarily doing reactions and reviews to television shows, but I do clearly have a couple of very visible tattoos that have appeared in multiple videos, and as you can probably see around me, I have a lot of tattoo art by various artists who I admire, and there's a couple drawings up here actually by me as well. I'm not a great artist, but sometimes I dabble in trying to draw some traditional style pieces just for fun. So yeah, I'm a big fan of tattoos and tattooing, and people have asked me about my different pieces. So I thought it might be fun to just go through and talk a little bit about them. So what I'm planning to do is I'll put up some pictures of all my various tattoos, and then I'll name all of my artists, and I will put links to their Instagram down in the description of this video so you can go and check out their other work and maybe make an appointment with some of them if you're interested in doing so. I'll talk a little bit about the meaning of some of them, but I'm not going to really go into a ton of detail there. Just know that for everyone that I have, there is some underlying meaning to me, but also a lot of it is just I enjoy both traditional style and neo-traditional style tattoos as art, and I wanted more of those sorts of things on my body. So, alright, so let's start with my first tattoos, and you may or may not be surprised to learn that my dragons here on my arm were actually my first tattoos. A lot of people felt that that maybe was a bit of a big step to jump into putting 3 medium-sized, so fairly decently sized tattoos right on my arm, so in a very visible place, but you know, I knew that I wanted to get these 3 dragon tattoos, and I was contemplating various places that I could put it. I had thought about maybe on my upper back shoulder area, but honestly, when I actually had the drawing in place and I went and spoke to my artist, it just seemed intuitive that the dragons would be flying up my arm, going along kind of the muscle. And so I decided to go for what might look the best, placement-wise, even if it was a little bit frightening. And I did, I went for it, and I'm so glad I did. I absolutely love my dragons on my arm. Some of you have guessed already, but if you haven't, yes, these are the dragons from Game of Thrones, or the A Song of Ice and Fire book series. So up here we have Rhaegal, here is Viserion, rest in peace, and then of course Drogon down here. Now, some people have asked me, just, you know, questioned, why is Drogon more red than he necessarily is in the show or the descriptions of the books? Though I will say that in the books he does have more red in his wings than we necessarily see on the show. And this is partially just a consequence of tattooing style. For anybody that's really into tattoos, and is a fan of traditional tattoos in particular, you'll know that bold colors tend to hold a bit better, and that there are certain colors that really, you know, show up and emphasize things well. Black is going to hold very well, but he would look pretty muted. It would be hard to kind of tell the difference in all the little details. So I decided to go with more of an emphasis on red. And kind of the same thing with Viserion. He's more of a cream colored with some gold, but I focused more on the yellow. And then Rhaegal. So I did this partially because, as I'm sure no one is shocked to hear, I am a massive fan of Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire. But it also was just more personal to me in the sense that I got these tattoos at a time in my life when I had been going through some struggles with my physical health and some depression that was a consequence of that, and I saw the dragons as kind of a symbol of strength and rebirth. So there's more to it than that, but I don't really want to get into that in too much detail, just to say that it was a combination of my love of Game of Thrones, what it symbolized to me personally, and also just the idea that, you know, dragons are commonly tattooed. They're a regular tattoo throughout the history of tattooing, and in traditional tattooing they show up at times, especially in more Japanese style. But to me it was kind of a good mixture of just a cool tattoo style that you could do in traditional manner that would look nice, and something that also had meaning to me beyond that. So that was my first tattoo. I'll have, you've probably already seen, I'm sure I put it up already, but I'll have some pictures up along the side here of all the pieces, including these, even though you can clearly see them here. The pictures that I'll put up will most likely be from when they were fresh, newer, but I think that they've held color pretty well for, you know, not being brand new anymore. And I kind of like the more worn in look of tattoos, sort of, anyway, but maybe that's just a personal preference. Alright, so my tattoos, my dragon tattoos were done by an artist named Casey O'Leary. He works in the Hudson Valley, New York, and I will put his Instagram link in the description. He also did my next tattoo. The fourth tattoo I got is on my left outer calf, and that is of a black cobra. Now, this is an original piece by Casey O'Leary. It was a piece of flash that he had on the wall, and I just was checking it out the entire time I was getting these dragons done because I was trying to focus on something else other than how it felt. So I was staring at all his flash pieces all over the wall, and I fell in love with it, so I decided that that was going to be my next tattoo. Partially just because I thought it looked really cool, I liked it a lot, but also, growing up, my sister and I were kind of obsessed with the televised cartoon version of the Rikki Tikki Tavi story from the Jungle Book. If anybody's seen that or has read the story, you'll know that large black cobras play a pretty significant role in that, and so I thought, you know, it has some kind of throwback association for me to my childhood and family, but also just looks really cool. So that's why I got that tattoo. I still love it to this day. I love all my tattoos so far. I think I'm fairly lucky in that regard, but alright. So then the next tattoo I got was another fairly big piece, and this required me to travel quite a distance. This is a large thigh tattoo. It's on my right upper thigh, and it was done by Hannah Flowers. So I'll put her Instagram down below. Okay, and I had this done actually in London. I traveled to London specifically to have this done by her. She is a neo-traditional artist who I think is absolutely fabulous. I've been a huge fan of her work for a long time. And, you know, for many years she actually was out of New Zealand, so it didn't really seem like there was much of a chance I'd ever be tattooed by her. But she ended up coming to London, and, you know, that's not that far from New York in terms of a plane ride, so I had the opportunity to go, and I took it. So you'll see she is kind of known for doing these neo-traditional lady head designs. They're all gorgeous, fabulous, and so I came up with an idea for a neo-traditional lady with some tattoos of her own, who maybe kind of looked like me or represented me to some aspect, with a panther. Now, I had given her a lot of freedom for how to put this together. You know, I thought it could actually be a panther in the design, or maybe a panther cowl, which is pretty common in neo-traditional and traditional lady head tattoos. But she came up with this design, and I thought it was absolutely beautiful and perfect, everything that I had hoped for. Now the panther, that was another little kind of personal touch for me, just because my school mascot growing up, I went to school in a very small town called Edmiston in New York, and there's a very small population of students. There's one building for K through 12 all the way through, so you have very small classroom sizes, and our mascot was the panther, so I just felt like kind of a bit of an emotional attachment to it, and I thought it would be cool to include in there. And I also wanted her to have a bit of a like supernatural feel to her in some respects, tie back into even my enjoyment of fantasy and Game of Thrones. So she threw in the added element of having the lady and the panther have similar colored eyes, maybe to kind of emphasize the idea of warding in some aspects. So I loved that. I thought it was fabulous. It was pretty painful part of the time. You know, it took about 7.5 hours to complete, which was obviously much longer than I had sat previously, since this was one of my first tattoos. but it was absolutely worth it. I still love it. I think it's fabulous, and I'm so glad I got the chance to meet her. She's incredibly sweet and talented. So after that, I decided that I wanted to go to a tattoo convention. So I ended up going to the Philadelphia Tattoo Convention. Around the Philadelphia area, also around New York, parts of New England, there are a lot of really great traditional tattooers, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to go see a whole bunch of them in person. And I booked an appointment to be tattooed by a fabulous artist from Philadelphia called Cassie O'Neill. I'll put her Instagram in the description below. And I ended up getting this piece from her, which is on my inner thigh of my left leg. It's a ghost babe, so it's got, you know, I've got to be honest, I mostly just got this because I thought it looked super cool. I wanted to have some sort of pin-up style tattoo because it's a very common motif in traditional tattooing, and I really just like all things, you know, horror and spooky related, as you may know if you watch some of my horror show reactions. I saw this design that she did. I thought the blue that she created was absolutely gorgeous, and so I set up an appointment with her to get this done, and I'm so glad I did. I love it so much. And you'll see right below this in the pictures, because I'm probably going to put up one picture of my left inner calf. I also later got a tattoo by another fabulous artist, and she was somebody that I had seen when I went to the tattoo convention. So like I said, I went and I checked out a bunch of different people. I was getting tattooed by Cassie, but I got the opportunity to explore and see a lot of different booths, see a lot of different styles. Even though I was focusing on traditional tattoos, there's also a lot of variation within that, and I'm a big fan of people who take the traditional style and kind of put their own spin on it. My other tattoo on my leg there is by a great artist from Philadelphia also named Kate Collins. And the Ouija thing is kind of a little throwback, a personal thing to me and my sister and a couple of my friends from growing up. Just the idea of a Ouija board. And so I just saw it and I thought, you know, that kind of reminds me of something personal. But also I thought it would just be kind of cool to put it underneath my ghost babe and have it be as though she was kind of channeling her. I thought they looked cool together. So decided to go for it. Still love it. Thrilled that I have it. After that, I decided I wanted to get a upper left thigh piece, and I wanted to get another lady head to kind of parallel, be symmetrical with my right thigh piece. So I also wanted this one to be neo-traditional style so that they would kind of go together, look pretty good together. And I wanted it to also have some sort of supernatural elements and maybe include animals so that it would really fit, that the two pieces would look good side by side. So I wasn't going to go to London again, but I did actually travel to Montreal to be tattooed by another just fabulous, talented traditional tattoo artist named Ariel Gagnon, and her Instagram will be in the description below. And so, as you can check out in the picture here, she made a kind of witchy, supernatural sort of being lady with a little raven on her as well, and also she's supposed to depict a sort of fortune teller. She's got a little magic ball there, so I thought that it came out really well. I thought that it looks really good with my other lady head tattoo. I like the contrast between the colors in their hair, and, you know, again, with the Game of Thrones, you'll know that ravens or crows, depending if you're talking about the books or the show, are really important there too, so I really liked that. You should definitely check out her page if you're interested in neo-traditional tattoos of not just ladies, but animals. She does a fabulous job on that. Birds, she's so great with birds in particular. I mean, honestly, just go check out her Instagram if you're interested in this sort of thing at all. She's extremely talented and also just a really sweet, nice person with very reasonable rates. You would be surprised. I would definitely, if you're ever able to get up near Montreal and you want to get tattooed by a neo-traditional artist, check her out. All right? And that brings me to my final tattoo that I have. This tattoo I decided to place on my upper left back shoulder area where I had originally thought about maybe putting my dragon tattoos. And I went back to Cassie O'Neill in Philadelphia for another big traditional piece. And this is a traditional style phoenix. Now, this is partially supposed to tie into my childhood love of Harry Potter, so you can think of him as a traditional style fox interpretation of him. But again, also I thought it would be fun because a phoenix is a common theme in tattooing, and traditional style animals, especially birds, are really cool to play with, and Cassie does great with beautiful colors, so I just thought it would be fun all the way around. And it also ties into an idea that I had developed after I had my dragons done, and this has to do with some future tattoo ideas that I have. I kind of wanted to get tattoos, at least 4, if you count my dragons as 1 in this instance, that would be of various mythical creatures that also seem to represent the different elements. So if my dragons, say for instance, represent fire in some respect, or you could say air since they fly, then I would have my phoenix who could also represent either of those, being fire or air. So then I'd also like to get 2 other tattoos that would be similarly placed along my body in close areas, so you can see sort of that my phoenix kind of wraps around to meet my dragons. I would have the other tattoos in close places as well, maybe along the side of my ribs, inner arm. I'd want them all to be kind of close to each other. And I'm thinking about possibly having a traditional style mermaid for water, representing water, because that is also really a big style in traditional tattooing. And then I'm contemplating what to get to be kind of the earth creature, thinking maybe a unicorn, but I'm open to other ideas as well. I'm still kind of thinking about that for the future. So that's just one idea I have. And then I currently also have an appointment booked for my next tattoo, which is not going to be until May, but that's okay, you know. I have to save up in order to go to extremely talented artists who I love. And that's going to be done by another fabulous traditional tattooist out of Philadelphia named Gianna Phillips. So the idea was based on a picture that I will put up here, a design that she drew in the past and posted on her Instagram. It's going to be a little bit different, but this will just give you a sense of kind of what it's going to be so that you can maybe envision that in the future. And that's going to be my next piece, and I'm super excited about it. But all right, well, that pretty much wraps it up. That's all my current tattoos and some of my thoughts for the future. If you have any questions for me about, you know, tattoo art, about the process of getting tattooed, about any of my experiences with my artists, or if you just have comments or thoughts regarding any of those things or anything else, please do leave them in the comment section below. I'd love to have a conversation with you guys about this sort of thing. I get really excited about tattoos and tattoo art, as you maybe can tell. All right, so I'll just say, other than that, thank you so much for joining me today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye.